Hey, it's Scott from Go Ride. Thanks for checking in. Last time I did a long review on my Santa Cruz Blur TR, and I really enjoyed that bike an awful lot. Recently, or over the winter, I was ready to ride something new. I had put 2,500 miles on that bike, and it was time to get something new. I had some different ideas in mind, things that I wanted different from my everyday cross-country ride bike. In the end, I kind of found that I was hardly riding my trail bike, only riding it like on specific rides with other friends, and not really riding it much when I got to pick exactly whatever it was that I wanted to ride that day. Most of my rides are going to be 20 to 30 miles. And so I want something that's fast, covers a lot of ground, and I'll enjoy on the descents. And that's partially what put me, or that is what started pushing me in the way of this Pivot Mach 4 SL. The way I have it set up, I would call it downcountry. There are some obvious things here that are different than the stock ones, but there's also some things that aren't so obvious. First, I'll point out the obvious things that are different here. One, I've got, instead of the Fox inline float shock, I've got a RockShox Super Deluxe Ultimate. And instead of the Fox Stepcast 34 at 120 travel, I have RockShox Pike Ultimate at 130 travel. And then if you notice also, instead of the usual 60 mil stem, that was also the length that came on my Blur TR, I'm running, I think it's a 35 millimeter length stem from Industry 9. Now you might say, okay, how did you get there? Well, there's even something even bigger different on this bike than my previous bike that allowed me to do these things and still end up with the fit that I like from my cross-country bike, where I'm doing, if I'm doing 4,000 feet of descending on this bike, I got to first do the 4,000 feet of climbing, right? And I don't have long periods of time. I don't have a whole day of Saturday to go do this. I'm a pretty busy person, so I might only have 2 to 3 hours to get that in. So how I got there was I really wanted a bike that handled better at speed, that let me stay more centered on the bike and not have to move so much to the back of the bike to handle rougher sections of trail. And the only way I could get that was to go from my usual size medium, I'm 5'8", and buy a large. The large gives me the wheelbase that I want from my everyday bike. But the large also lets me run that 35 mil stem instead of a 60 mil stem. So I've got the long reach I like, I've got the long wheelbase I like, but I still have the same size effective top tube from my saddle to my handlebars. So the bike nearly fits the same as my previous bike, but handles so much better at speed. It was something I had to think about for a long time. I had to look really close at the geometries, make sure that my handlebars weren't going to end up being higher than I wanted. But ultimately, I got what I wanted out of that bike. And I did it by picking the large and then speccing it with a bigger fork and with a more capable rear shock. The rest of it's pretty close to the standard EXO build that would come on the Pivot. I just have a slightly different crank that was from my previous bike and my own personal saddle and grips. All in all, I got exactly what I wanted. I got a bike that all of a sudden I was getting PRs on descents, even though I'm not young anymore, and there's a lot of trails I've ridden when I was many years younger on much more aggressive bikes, but this thing is just so fast in a straight, so fast out of a corner, and nearly as good as a trail bike through the rough sections. It's pretty dang awesome. And no complaints at all, no regrets. With that being said, I probably could have got nearly the same thing out of a Blur TR if that's the way you're leaning. The biggest difference for me being that I don't have very long legs at 5'8", and you can see I've only got maybe 20 millimeters of extra seat post showing there. And that's with just a 150 drop saddle. I guess I could probably get 170 out of it and still be the right height. but the Blur TR has a considerably bigger seat tube, and I knew it was going to be really close. I might not even be able to run a full 150 dropper post. And I believe it also, if memory serves me right, has a bigger head tube, and I was a little concerned about the height of the handlebars. But let's say you're 5'9", and normally ride a medium. I even know people who are 5'10" that are riding mediums. Heck, I got a buddy who's 6'1", and he rides a large. So in both those bikes. So if you're a little bit taller than me, you probably could do a large from either of these bikes and get those results. Overall, like I said, I've just been super happy with the bike. I'm hoping to do some more reviews. I'm hoping to do some back-to-back testing, put the original suspension back on, and see how much different it is from that standpoint.